Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, the tea drinker. Today, I have to say, I've got some special tea. Some friends sent me this from Fortnum and Mason. Royal Blend it is, and it's really rather lovely. Rather lovely indeed. Now, I am outside today, and there's a good reason why I'm outside. It's because I can, and it's sunny, and I thought, why should I stay indoors when it's like this? So I'm outside. I have been outside a lot recently. I am therefore injured. I was digging in some soil last week and I discovered a large block of granite. Now I've got an impact pain all the way through that wrist, so I'm currently taking a lot of paracetamol. But never mind that. You don't have to go outside to get injured. See that? Yes, that was opening a tin of dog food. So I've been suffering this week, and I thought while I've been suffering, it's probably time for me to give you an update on this writer's blood. Seems apposite after all. And why have I got to give an update? Well, this is one of those situations where I have to eat my words. Okay, why do I have to eat my words? Well, I have said on this here video channel that I think writer's blood is boring, it's tedious, it's flat, it doesn't shade, and basically it does nothing for me at all. And then I received this letter from a good friend of mine, the Boss Penguin. Thank you, Chris. This delightful letter is written entirely with writer's blood. And I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to show some photos, hopefully, of why I like it. I saw this letter, I read it, under a standard lamp in my kitchen. And something immediately became apparent. That is, admittedly there's very little shading, but every single letter has an outline, and the outline is gold. It looks as though someone has carefully sprinkled very tiny flakes of gold all the way round each letter, and it's quite wonderful. And so I looked at that, and then I went back to my office and the daylight bulb that I use for all my ink tests, and looked at it under that bulb, and there was no sheen, no gold outline whatsoever. And so I looked at all the other ones, and then I started testing under different lamp bulbs. Here, for example, I've got the very cheap W.H. Smith's book, and I can just make out this golden glitter here in daylight. But I must admit it's not very pronounced. So I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea to check out some of the other writing I've done and some of the other papers. So here, for example, is my Tomo River standard testing paper. If I look up my writer's blood, written with the TWSBI, of course, yes, there is a clear glittering effect in this. And I say glittering effect quite definitely because it's much more of a glitter than a sheen from the look of it. It really does look like tiny flakes have been dropped in. It doesn't give you that sort of different colour that you'd get from something like, as an example, Majestic Blues from Diamine. Now I've loaded up the ink in my Visconti Crystal Dream. Let's just check that. Now, what is clearly apparent is that this particular ink really likes gushing pens. It is not the sort of ink that would give any decent impact with a very fine nib. If you use something like a 1.1mm stub in a TWSBI, you will get a good glittery, sheeny outline, I hope. Now, what's interesting is, certainly this type of ink reacts differently depending on the type of paper you're using. I had a long chat with some other people, and one of the things they said was that you also have to shake the ink bottle before you use it. I have done so. I'm not convinced that actually has much of an impact. Here, for example, I've got some 115 GSM paper from William Hanna, absolutely superb paper, and on the large test of the ink, it's definitely got the glittering effect. The basic writing has glittering effect as well, but not as good as the letter from Chris. When I look at the cheap W.H. Smith's notebook, there is a very slight glittering effect, but actually the paper seems to have that too, so you almost lose the glittery effect of the writer's blood because of the paper. With this very, very cheap children's school book, exercise book type thing, exercise book, the writer's blood is definitely glittery, especially where I've made a large smudge. And looking at really good Oxford paper, yes, you can see the glitter on every paper, on every character. And now, of course, I have tried to go into the sun to get some more photos of different types of paper. I have Nemocene, I have Tomo River here, and I can promise you that you cannot see the exquisite golden flakes in writer's blood when it's cloudy. However, here, under a very good LED light, Tomo River, you got perfect coverage. The Nemocene also works extremely well. And even the papers that I checked out when I first got this ink, such as Tomo River with the ivory cast, actually shows it all up very nicely under this light. So strangely enough, you really do have variation. If you've got a straight daylight bulb like I use all the time, writer's blood doesn't show up anything at all. But with the same paper, with the same bit of writing held under an LED light, it shows up beautifully. Where's the logic in that? So it is a very strange type of ink. It sort of wants to sheen, but only on its own terms. And then you've got an ink that is sort of very special because it depends entirely on the paper you're using, the nib that you're using, and also the light that the reader is using to read it by. Now, I have to admit, I want inks which are going to be, yes, beautiful in colour. I want inks that will flow well in all my pens. I want inks that are not too harsh on the eye. Some of Diamine's more garish colours, like their pinks, really don't appeal to me. But I want a colour that is easily available and so on. This is in a category all of its own. Yes, it's got that sheen, and yet it's only visible if you use the right paper, the right pen, the right nib, and see it under the right light. Is that something that's just plain daft? I have to admit, I have got to eat my words. I think it's a really stunning ink, given the right situation, given the right pen and paper and all of the other things. Is it an ink that I would tend to use? Well, not if I want people to see the glittering effect, because then you've got to write special instructions to any viewer saying exactly what light they've got to use to be able to watch it. And that just seems plain daft. On the other hand, for people who do know about the ink, it does give a really rather lovely effect in the right light, if you use the right pen and the right paper. So, what does that mean? Writer's blood. An ink that I thought was dull, boring, tedious, flat, and basically not worth any money at all. And I was seriously thinking about selling my bottle just to get rid of it. Now, it's actually sort of growing into one of my favourite inks. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that was sort of interesting. My apologies. I was intending to do a big comparison of different blue inks, but the effect of my wrist being really quite considerably injured means that refilling a pen loads of times would just be rather painful and difficult, so I had to decide to do something a bit different. The pen was loaded with writer's blood, so I could do this without any grief. Hopefully by next week my wrist will have fully recovered, you never know. But if that was interesting, don't forget, subscribe, hit the bell button if you want to be notified of future videos, like it, share it, tell your friends and all the rest of it. And if you are interested in writing to people with your fountain pens, don't forget the Writerly Wittering's Pen Club. Write to me at writerlywitterings@icloud.com. There's a link down at the bottom, and I'll tell you how you can join the Pen Pals Club. And apart from that, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. I'm now going to finish my Royal Blend Fortnum & Mason's tea. Thank you very much. Bye. And hopefully I won't have to eat my words too much with any of the other past videos. Probably will though.